Why do some cars foul their intake valves with carbon deposits while others don't? Well, to understand this is to understand automotive history, the EPA, the US government, and physics. Going back to 1963, which is what this is a 1963 Ford Galaxy, this car predates the Environmental Protection Agency. It predates most emission controls. A lot of people like to say, yeah, that's when a car was, they really know how to make cars back then. Well, what they're really saying when you hear old timers like beat their chests and make noise about that is that automotive manufacturers had the freedom to pretty much do whatever they wanted. There was no such thing as safety regulations, and in fact, this car, at the time of the manufacture, was not required to have seat belts. Is it legal to drive? Yes. A car must meet the safety standards required at the time of manufacture. So what does that have to do with emissions regulations? Well, this is an engine that pollutes even when it's off. What are you talking about? Well, engines are not sealed units. There is combustion, but there also is crankcase fumes and oil. It's a big sloshy mess that goes around, around, and around. This particular car, check out its oil cap. Yeah. It doesn't even seal. The oil cap on a 1963 Galaxy is ventilated, and gases from inside the engine, not the combustion chamber, but inside the engine, and by that I mean crankcase where all the oil is sloshing around, just kind of get hot. And as you're driving along, the engine will expel these gases into the air. And then when you get back, the engine's still hot, it's still gassing out. That's why old cars smell like that. And of course, there's no catalytic converter. During the 1970s, early 1970s, emissions regulations started to take into effect after people figured out how ugly Los Angeles was. Those old pictures of 1970s LA? Ugh. Lots of smog. Most American cities, in fact. So the solution that they came up with was all those gases that just normally escape through the oil cap, through the gas tank, various other orifices. Well, we're going to seal the engine completely up. But that creates a problem because the pressures inside the crankcase are always fluctuating. And if you seal it up, the pistons coming down will face resistance and the engine won't run right. Oh, but we have a solution. Let's burn them off. Well, how are we going to burn them off? Well, like this. We're going to allow some of the crankcase fumes to travel into the carburetor. This, of course, is not a carburetor. This is now a throttle body fuel injection unit, but same principle. And by that, I mean completely different principle. Looks the same, that's what I'm saying. The fumes will come in. They will go into the engine along with the fuel that's being sprayed and be reburned. And that worked okay. And later on, as emissions became more thorough, they started putting little hoses like that from the exhaust and taking some of the exhaust fumes, routing them back into the combustion chambers, or somewhere along the intake leading to the combustion chambers, to be reburnt again. Well, okay, fine. It fouls up our spark plugs a little bit doing that, having like oily gunk and stuff go into the engine, but at least you can take the spark plugs out anytime you want. Clean them off with a little bit of brake clean, maybe some very light sandpapering. I used to do that with my motorcycles. Put them back in, you're fine. Now, what does that have to do with the valves? Well, I'm getting to that. All that oily gook and crud has to travel over your intake valves before they go into the engine. Now, those intake valves are very, very hot. And if there's one thing that oil likes to do when it gets very hot, is to caramelize. It gets thicker. It's almost like a reduction in cooking. It gets gooey, nasty. You ever spill soda on something, like a countertop or a plate, and then forget about it and just leave it there? Come back in a few days? What's next? This ooey gooey sludge snot-like stuff. Well, that's what happens with oil crankcase fumes and all that other stuff. But it doesn't collect on the valves with an engine with throttle body fuel injection or with something like port fuel injection. Because all that goo is getting mixed with gasoline because the gasoline is being sprayed in along with it. And gasoline is a wonderful solvent. It cleans stuff really well. It's almost as good as brake clean. And modern fuels have extra detergents in them to help keep your valves clean and your intake and everything else. It counteracts the necessary emission controls that cars have. And that was all well and good until the early 2010s, when new CAFE standards were coming along. And manufacturers were searching for ways to get more fuel economy out of engines, run leaner burns, and still make the kind of power they want to. And the solution was to move the fuel injectors from outside the combustion chamber inside the combustion chamber. Now, what that allows you to do is control where inside the combustion chamber the explosion takes place. That opened up all kinds of possibilities for tuning, especially on performance machines like this Golf R. That is a giveaway. And forgive me for plugging my giveaway again. Go to fanofthem.com/regularcars, buy some limited edition merch, and you're automatically entered to win this very fast 2013 Golf R with direct injection. Engines with direct injection can run leaner, use less fuel, make more power, and you can get microscopic with the tuning. Sure, the fuel injectors cost a little more because now they have to withstand the crazy cylinder pressure inside the engine. But if you look at them, this is a direct injector, and it was in this engine right here. This little John is meant to withstand pressures, thousands of, like 150 to 180 psi, 250 psi, and explosions and fire and deliver fuel all at the same time. It's a wonderful piece of engineering. It's delightfully, is this cast? No, I think this is machined. They are fantastic. While direct injection solved the problem of fuel economy, solved the problem of tuning, it created a new one. All that gasoline that was cleaning the intake valves from all the gook and stuff that was flowing in based on emissions regulations. Now all of that hot gunk was traveling over the intake valves without the aid of fuel, without the aid of gasoline to keep those intake valves clean, to wash all that gook and have it go into the engine and get burned and passed out the back. Your fuel injectors are now inside the engine, and those intake valves are burning hot, and now all that goop sticks to them. Little bit, slowly, over time, like a little bit of stubble in your bathroom sink, like some leaves in your gutters. Not a problem. But over time, a little bit more gunk sticks, and more gunk sticks. And then suddenly, ever so slowly, and it's like what James Sexton said about divorces. How do divorces happen? Very, very slowly and then all at once. Very, very slowly you start losing power, and then all at once your engine's not running right and you don't know why. So now you need to get your valves cleaned. And that service is called Walnut blasting. The intake manifold comes off, and a little hose, let's use this air pump as an example. Little hose is pushed down the intake manifold until you can see the valves, and it sprays crushed up walnut shells at very high pressure down around the valves and everything else. You ever have your teeth cleaned with one of those little like power washers that the dentist has sometimes? It's kind of like that. And while they're doing it, they have an attachment for their shop vac that goes right next to it that sucks the walnut shavings back out. So walnut shavings are being blasted It's cleaning off all that gunk and then getting sucked out at the same time. Does it get all the walnut shavings out? No. Is that a problem? No. Because walnut shavings are softer than all the metal that's around it. If a few are left, when you start the engine, they're immediately consumed by the engine, shot out the back. Kind of like cherry seeds if you ever swallow them. They pass right through you. The problem is a lot of consumers didn't know about this problem. And after about 100,000 miles, they started to get engine codes, and their engine was behaving weird, and they thought they had a lemon. Toyota solved this by using both port fuel injection and direct injection, and it cycles between the two. Every now and again, spraying down the intake valves with a fresh batch of gasoline to make sure nothing sticks to them, and then it switches back to the direct injection for good fuel economy. But this car from 2013 predates that. This is direct injected only. So every 100,000 miles, the walnut blasting service has to be done. Was it done to this car? Oh, yes. Did I notice a difference? Oh, yes. This engine is fresh. It's good for another 100,000 miles. Right now, there's 107,000 miles. Should that deter you from getting a direct gasoline injected car, knowing that that service has to be done? Depending on your shop, it could be $1,000, it could be $3,000. Labor rates vary. Can you do it yourself? Absolutely. There are kits you can buy to do it at home. You just have to take your time removing the intake manifold and a lot of the extra stuff that's in the way. Can you do it without the little walnut blasting kit? Yeah, you can get in there with a little pick and scraper and scrape it all out. Will it be as good as blasting? Not really. Frankly, I wouldn't be deterred from this as long as I budgeted that extra $1,000 to $3,000. Subaru guys know this immediately. You have anything with an EJ engine? Well, gotta think about those head gaskets every 100,000 miles. EJ's, Boy, I sure do love composite head gaskets. So at 100,000 miles with any Subaru with an EJ engine that doesn't have the multi-layer steel, you replace it with multi-layer steel, and there you go. The problem is, you really have to remove the engine of a Subaru to put the head gaskets in. Yes, there are people with single cam engines that can get them out in there. It's a complete pain in the butt. So it's one of those Subaru things. I know I'm getting off topic, but you drop the engine to do the head gaskets and you go, well, long as I'm there, let's do timing belt, water pump, spark plugs, everything else. Soon that's a $5,000 job. Alternator, everything else since you have it out. Does that deter Subaru people? Not really. Just cost of ownership. So this giveaway car that we have is all set to go. Whoever wins this giveaway is getting a Golf R that, well, I don't want to claim any sort of guarantees, but as far as the engine goes, perfect. Did I close that all right? Yeah. See, I'm just used to American cars. When the hood's closed like these. Slamma-jamma. That was just very nice, European. Just clicks. Like, no, it's fine. I hope that answered your question about walnut blasting and why direct injected engines develop carbon deposits. We're going to get some more shots of this driving out there, and I'll show you how much fun this is to drive once that service has been done. Drives like a new car.